Bueno, empezamos con el Warcraft.
Chris, during the opening ceremonies, we are at the dawn of a new
Empezamos
era
con el
of Warcraft. The World Soul Saga. A story that will play out over the next 3 expansions and will take us on an adventure in World of Warcraft like we've never experienced before.
Super expansions.
This saga kicks off with the War Within. In this first chapter, our heroes will be called on an expedition to the subterranean depths of Azeroth, revealing a new world full of mystery, wonder, and darkness. There we will confront the shadows below and face new challenges on the battlefield as well as in ourselves. So what is next? During this section, I'll share an overview of the story of the War Within, and then next you'll hear from Maria Hamilton, who will speak to zones and cultures, and then wrapping up with Morgan Day, who will talk about dungeons, the raid, and our new systems. Let's dig in. In our cinematic reveal, did you guys enjoy the cinematic? Big shout out to the cinematic team for the work on that. It's just incredible work. We witnessed as Thrall found Anduin Wrynn, who has been wandering alone for the last few years, grappling and lost in his own thoughts and dealing with the experience that he's been through, as many of you may have remembered. Throughout this and our features trailer, we learned 2 very important developments, starting with these visions. Thrall spoke of a vision calling out from the heart of the world, like a voice from a dream. This radiant song will compel our heroes to investigate its origins, and while at the same time, a darkness has been gathering, even as the heroes adventure on the Dragon Isles, and in the War Within, the mysterious harbinger that Iridikron spoke of will reveal themselves. Xal'atath has returned. Freed long ago from the black blade that once bound her, she is now the harbinger of a new era of the Void's dark machinations. And her message is clear. The Black Empire has fallen. The old gods are dead. And their ancient blood runs deep within the cracks of the world. We, the heroes of Azeroth, destroyed them.
Let's go.
The forces of the Horde and the Alliance have proven time and again they are among the most powerful armies that have ever stood.
A dormir, campeones.
The Harbinger has watched this. She is patient. And while the Black Empire failed, Xal'atath now seeks to set in motion the rise of a new dark legacy, one that knows our true strength and will seek to test it against a new threat of terrible power, the Nerubians of Azj-Kahet. Xal'atath has conscripted the Nerubian queen Ansurek, having offered her people a new future, one in which they will rise from their isolation as a mighty kingdom once again. And here in this sprawling city of Azj-Kahet, we will not find the undead soldiers of the Lich King that we faced before, but instead a new mighty stronghold of the Nerubians as they once were, deadly survivors of the mythic wars that have played out time and again over thousands of years. In return for their loyalty, Xal'atath has granted the Nerubians the means of a dark evolution, one that will turn the Nerubians into a new kind of ferocious and terrifying soldier that we will clash against time and again in the War Within. Now let's talk about who we'll be adventuring with. How do you like the key? Several of Azeroth's greatest heroes will rise to the call of the Radiant Song, and many will be faced with their own unique challenges. Anduin, having survived his ordeal with domination. Yes, look at the art. Oh.
Anduin ha ido al gimnasio, tío.
Anduin will be grappling with his relationship to the Holy Light that he no longer feels worthy of, while Thrall is seeking a connection to these visions, spreading across the world and working to find his new place in the Horde. While Magni Bronzebeard, long the Speaker of Azeroth, will confront the heavy weight of that responsibility once and for all. Champion! The Wounds Champion!
The Wounds.
But that brings us to, I know you saw this in the features trailer, Alaria Windrunner.
Let's go, Elf Mommy.
Alaria's journey will be central to the events of the themes of the War Within.
LOL, pero la han
as she,
nerfeado,
a
tío, ahora es
void
más
hunter,
fea.
will use all of her prowess to hunt down the Harbinger while being torn between her own nature and the maddening call of the void to which she is attuned. Along the adventure, she will have a unique rivalry with Xalatath, whose twists and turns will come to define the nature of this new conflict. Of course, we'll see many more familiar faces on our journey and meet a host of new and interesting characters along the way that Maria is going to tell you more about in just a moment. But finally, this saga is only just beginning. Conceived to be... Yes! Conceived to be an epic worthy of the first 20 years of World of Warcraft, the World Soul Saga aims to redefine the storytelling in our expansion set and strike boldly at the core themes that define Warcraft. The might of heroes, the responsibility of that power, the pursuit of justice. Got to do my best Mets in there. Justice! And the importance of finding common ground as well as ourselves amidst adversity. Up next, may I introduce Maria Hamilton, who will be sharing more about our zones and cultures in the War Within. Thank you so much.
Hello, Blizzcon. Wow, I am so excited to be here and delighted to represent our team and tell you about the places we will explore and the cultures we will encounter in the War Within. I can't really see all of you out there. I know there's a lot of you, though, because I can hear you. And I hope to hear lots of oohs and ahs when you see some of this cool art I've got to show you.
Increíble.
So let's get started.
Vamos a ver.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Okay, as Taryn mentioned earlier, we'll be called by the Radiant Song, dreamlike visions that come from the heart of the Azeroth. This summons is going to lead us to the subcontinent of Khaz-Algar, a place long forgotten. It's only through recent explorations in Uldaman that we've discovered a Watcher report concerning a contingent of Earthen that was sent to this place long, long ago to investigate a fissure in the sector. What exactly that means, we don't really know, but we can probably speculate. So first, let's talk about the Earthen.
Earthen.
There you go. All right, we have met Titan-forged Earthen before, of course, in Ulduar and other places. But this society of Earthen has been isolated within Khaz-Algar for a really long time and have developed their own manners and customs. Now, visually, these Earthen are a bit larger in stature, and they're noticeably blinged out. They've got gems all over them, bedazzled, blinged out, you know, that kind of thing, right? But philosophically, they are guided by the Edicts of the Titans, a set of codified orders, duties, and expectations that provide instructions for the core functions of their society. You know, Titans, order, all that, right? But the Titans have been absent for eons, and the Earthen are no longer united in their adherence to these edicts. They now exist as three groups that are estranged from each other. The Oathsworn, as their name suggests, still uphold the edicts faithfully and believe everyone else is doing it wrong. Their charge is guarding the Core Way, a Titan passageway that leads right to the core of Azeroth. They're primarily the city dwellers. They live conveniently near the object of their responsibility, the Core Way. Now, the Unbound, in contrast, have abandoned the edicts, and they are considered scandalously rebellious by the Oathsworn. Their original responsibility was providing the materials to keep the Titan installations supplied, and they're primarily rural. They're living in and around the quarries and the mines where natural resources can be acquired. They rarely interact with the city dwellers. They feel neglected and ignored because they have a different opinion on how they should live. Now, the machine speakers have strayed from the edicts in practice, but not with respect to their overall obligation to keep the Titan works functioning. They've had extremely limited contact with the surface dwellers, and they express no real disdain for those who just don't understand the great machines. Their homes are built around vast industrial projects under the surface that allow them to perform their functions in accordance with edicts more or less. These different perspectives among the Earthen and their variable adherence to the Titan's edicts has weakened the society as originally structured. And that's not good, of course. But a much more serious problem is their steadily
Una mini guerra
dwindling
entre los
numbers.
tres.
For reasons that I'm not going to get into here and now, New Earthen can't exist until we help them out by doing some things and unite the Earthen society once more.
Nos tenemos que ayudar.
Happily, as a result of our actions, the Earthen will eventually be unlocked as an allied race. Yeah, like sweet, don't they? Yeah.
Let's go.
These player Earthen will replenish the culture's dwindling numbers and may join either the Horde or the Alliance. Yeah. It is, of course, player's choice which side you wish to ally with. But as you can see from a small sampling of combinations, there's some fantastic variations and customizations coming for the Earthen models, including different gem incrustations, beards for all body types, rocky skin patterns, tones, and more. Now that golden mohawk with the braids and the fringe beard, that's quite the look. But I really like the beardless guy with the bushy blonde eyebrows. He looks so cool. He's just kind of like, yep, what do you want me to do? So anyway, all right, moving on. Another cool culture that players will encounter in the War Within is the Arathi. Yeah, and you probably have questions, right? So these are descendants of the original Arathorian Empire, and they've arrived relatively recently and through some somewhat mysterious circumstances. And they find themselves trapped here within Khaz-Algar. Mysterious mostly because I can't say anything more about it just yet because of spoilers, but it's not like spooky mysterious, it's the other kind. As a people, the Arathi are worshippers and wielders of holy fire. They are dedicated to bringing hope and light to the darkness. They're tough, resilient people, with every member of the society being an able combatant. Some few are further blessed with paladin-like abilities through their devotion to the light. Even their airships are powered by sacred flame. The extent to which they're comfortable in battle is probably a good thing, because they have established a home away from home in an enormous cavern bordered by an endless underground sea, from which terrifying creatures emerge to rampage and create havoc. Not my idea of a cool place to hang out, but they're really, really tough. These watery monstrosities, though, are nothing compared to the threat from below. A constant swarm of Nerubians has been held back so far from invading the Arathi lands. The assault is unrelenting, the threat is dire, and the Arathi can't hold much longer. These bastions of light against the darkness are far from home and limited in number. Sure would be terrible if there was also division within the Arathi ranks. Just saying. That would be pretty rough, what with them being so outnumbered. We could probably help them.
Poquito de ayuda.
All right, speaking of the Nerubians in the War Within, we'll explore their last kingdom deep within Khaz-Algar. These ancient survivors of the Black Empire who rejected their former masters have developed their own culture here in the deep darkness. As Taryn mentioned earlier, Xal'atath has made a bargain with the Nerubian queen Ansarek, who seeks a new future and renewed glory for her people. The Nerubians are extremely capable and devious adversaries who have been honing their skills with their constant assault on the Arathi. But domination hasn't come fast enough for the Queen's taste, as the Arathi has managed to hold against this onslaught. So this deal with the Harbinger has included some assistance for her troops. Through some dark alchemical process, Xal'atath has provided the knowledge required to evolve chosen Nerubians into paragons of their race, enhancing their viciousness. And Queen Ansarek has embraced these modifications with enthusiasm and eagerly offered her army to achieve the Harbinger's schemes. It appears to be a win-win situation. But not all Nerubians share their sovereign's enthusiasm for change and her embrace of Xal'atath. Shadowy figures with far too many limbs maneuver against the Harbinger's plans in opposition to the Queen's desire. As you might expect, any foray into this Nerubian kingdom introduces us to a variety of citizens, including some forms we've never encountered before. Here's a layout of some of the Nerubian models that are completed and also some that are in progress, as well as scale reference for goblins and humans, so you just get a sense of size. In addition to the Nerubian citizens, there are also domesticated insects who serve the kingdom as beasts of burden and pets. The team is hard at work building out the full range of carapaces, carapae, I don't know, whichever, skittering legs, grabby arms, piercing spiky bits, and creepy eyes for you to enjoy, I guess. All right, let's talk about our zones. The surface of Khazalgar is our first zone, called the Isle of Dorn. This is the home of the earthen surface dwellers, as well as other native species of creatures. The fertile soil, flowering plant life, and generous waterways provide nourishment for animals in this untouched paradise. An important facet of earthen society is Cinderbrew mead. This volatile substance is manufactured from molten honey, produced by enormous fiery bees. Their home groves are a remarkable sight, as the hearts of the trees themselves glow with lava-like fluid. Harvesting is always an exciting time, as the ferocious creatures are understandably protective of their hives. Now, the roosts at Storm Watch are wreathed with lightning and fierce winds. These wild elemental rooks may choose to serve a member of the Oathsworn, who, if so blessed, becomes a Storm Rider, one of the guardian warriors of the earthen people. The Unbound deal with hostile creatures from time to time, but for their most part, the existence is relatively peaceful, sort of peaceful. Their comfortable homes are often situated near the places where they once labored as adherents to the edicts. Those sites are now in disrepair, and in some cases, the lair of other creatures. Of course, the Isle of Dorn boasts a great walled city where the Oathsworn live and serve the edicts of the Titans. The city of Dornagal is the location of many important civic buildings, markets, traders, and crafters. And it's here that a traveler will find the expected amenities of a capital city, as well as the Titan Causeway, the defense of which is the Oathsworn's primary charge. Now, beneath the surface of the Isle of Dorn lies our second zone, the Ringing Deeps. As the name suggests, it is here that the Earthen are engaged in their work in accordance with the edicts. In these industrial areas of this cavernous space are huge, complicated machines, lava-heated foundries and forges, and waterworks, both to cool and to power huge machinery. Maintaining these Titan mechanisms and keeping everything running is both the responsibility and the passion of the machine speakers. The Earth has shifted too in places, revealing openings to the sky above to the Isle of Dorn. These cenotes bring light and water into areas once shrouded in darkness. Abundant greenery, flowers, and creatures that do not typically dwell in caverns may be found in these idyllic spots. It was really important to us as developers that we delivered the fantasy of the hard-working industry, but still had some break-up areas of natural beauty that don't feel like dark, constrained tunnels. Now, as the machine speaker population has dropped, they've had increasing difficulties with kobold incursions, and indeed the kobolds have taken over the mines, the work areas. They've even built a city of their own. Unexpectedly, the kobolds are actually becoming a force to be reckoned with under the aggressive actions of their leader, the Candle King. You knew it had to be a candle. No take candle. No take candle. With the passage of time, the Earthen have diminished both in number and in the knowledge required to perform the various routines to tune and repair the processes. The old ways have been forgotten, and new creative methods must be employed if the edicts are to be obeyed. So they're kind of making it up as they go along. From the Ringing Deeps, we descend further into Khazalgar to reach Hollowfall, a vast hollow area in the earth, bordered by an endless underground sea. This tenuous foothold under the bright light of an enormous crystal has allowed the Arathi to survive, using their airships to travel to high plateaus and establish docks, light towers, villages, and even a priory. From their capital of Merildar, these trapped people strive to keep hope alive and spread the light, while engaged in a near constant battle with the Nerubians at their borders. The open spaces, the bright light, and the greenery are intended to feel as though we're on the surface, somehow, rather than in this sort of strange hollow within Azeroth. The crystal provides brilliant light, warmth, and growth for vegetation.
Super cristal.
You may notice that all the blooming plants have opened their blossoms toward the light and seem to be reaching in that direction whenever they're in Holofall.
Cristal.
Unfortunately, the crystal sun has been changing in recent years.
Uy, uy,
Where
uy.
once the light was steady and reliable, it now fades without warning, plunging the Arathi into darkness, save where they have built light towers and maintain their holy flame beacons. In the absence of this light, the dangerous Kobis and other fierce creatures emerge from the sea to rampage.
Es en cuando se
As the
vuelve
Arathi are
luz
barely holding
potente,
back the
diferente.
Nerubians, these unpredictable episodes are incredibly demoralizing and deadly. Happily, the light has always returned to the crystal, so far.
Ah,
And at the deepest descent in the war within, we reach the zone of Aj-Kahet. That almost rhymes. Anyway, the Nerubian city of Threads has been built on the ruins of itself
tú tiene pinta de entrada de raid.
over and over and over
¿Tú crees
again.
tú?
As areas decay and crumble, a new district is built upon its ruins, and as a result, the city climbs ever higher. Those Nerubians favored by the queen, or possessing enormous wealth, or both, command the greatest views and live in the highest places over these swarming masses of the many districts. The Burrows is the home of the scavengers, the forgotten,
los
deep in the
pobres.
decay and the filth. The Umbral Bazaar is a trading hub of fine silks, fascinating alchemical discoveries, and other exotic and hard-to-find goods. The Skanes are the home of the lore keepers and scholars who toil to maintain the history of their people and research myths and legends of Azeroth. There are many other districts and less than savory neighborhoods, both well-known and secret, that the careful adventurer could discover should they risk life and limb to do so. But the key to such exploration is fitting in among the Nerubians and being accepted, an enterprise best accomplished through skill in the use of pheromones and considerable bravery. The zone of Aj-Kahet features areas of spectacular dark beauty that are inhabited by these creatures that have found a way to live among the Nerubians without being deemed a threat, found to be particularly tasty to consume, or just too much fun to torment. The mobilization of forces to assault the Arathi while also providing military might to achieve Xalatath's schemes has stirred up all sorts of inhabitants of the darkness. And deep within the city itself, the Nerubians are gathering an odd substance, the black blood of the old gods, for some
Otra vez.
unknown purpose. But I'm sure that's fine. And now I'd like to talk a little bit about our zone flow. As I mentioned,
Ojo, dynamic fly.
awesome, huh? We travel from the Isle of Dorn into the Ringing Deeps, into Holofall, and then into Aj-Kahet. In the War Within, all of our zones are connected all together using the airlock technology that we developed for Zarelek Cavern, allowing for this seamless descent from the Isle of Dorn all the way to Aj-Kahet. That was video I just captured last week of the transition between the Ringing Deeps and Holofall. As you can see, we built for dynamic flight, and we were able to flow directly between the zones without the load screen. There is some seriously amazing swoopy goodness to be had moving across these zones and through these spaces. It feels so cool to burst out of a really tight area and into just a huge drop like that. It's so exhilarating. Now, this blobby map that I've got up here was an early attempt during development of our zone flow to try to figure out how we would stack these zones together and achieve the relationship between their geography and geometry that made sense and felt great to traverse. We ended up with something slightly different than this, but this is pretty representative to explain what the world builders were thinking about when they planned
Sí, sí, o sea, están diferentes stratos.
It was really important to our design that while 3 of the 4 zones are technically underground, they didn't feel that way, and that they were distinctly different from one another. We pursued that goal by introducing the natural cenotes in the Ringing Deeps and leaning into the fantasy of the classic underground foundry and industrial workspaces. So even in the zone that felt the tightest, there's places that look as though they're actually on the surface. And within Holofall, we created a massive hollow space in a cavern so vast it feels like an exterior, with a huge artificial sun in the form of a gigantic crystal. And in Ajkahet, we leaned hard into traditional Nerubian architecture with hanging nests and huge palaces built all over a decaying city that just falls away into the depths. And that is the last bit of eye candy I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this peek at what we've got in development.